must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal call.
Cry babies.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, you know, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of, but it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me, but white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place. So we've essentially extended citizenship to those people to escape from that violence and come here.
Well, in my view, what makes it different is that they are white South Africans. The president, in my view, has not hidden his racism behind a bushel. In fact, you know, in his policies, whether it's removing government workers or, in this case, admitting white South Africans while denying refugee status, asylum seekers from other countries, principally Central and South American and Black nations, to come into this country. And so I think that, you know, this policy, while it's not surprising in this action, really speaks of the underlying message in this that disrespects and shows disdain for people of color while embracing these Afrikaners now, and also expediting the process by which they can come into the country while denying that same process to other refugees.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. So in this clip from CNN, we're gonna watch Kevin O'Leary and Scott Jennings destroy this whole panel. And they're going to be debating about white people being let into this country, white immigrants from South Africa being let into this country. Now, mind you, it's only 40 of them or 49 of them. And these people are losing their minds because the only narrative that they have surrounding this story is that Trump is letting white people in and deporting brown and blacks. Just annoying. But anyway, let's not waste any time and get into this video.
Okay. So if you think about the history of South Africa, it being under an apartheid system, where I think it is 80% of the population that are Black Africans only own 4% of the land. That is because they were put in shanty towns and moved into areas where they had no rights. And so 30 plus years ago, they went through a the apartheid system ended, and they reformed their constitution under the great leader of Nelson Mandela, and that allowed for a racial reconciliation, one that this country has yet to do, but South Africa did it, and they reformed their constitution, and part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans, and so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And that is for them to, so if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave. that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No. They can
These refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you against them coming here?
Holland, probably.
Holland.
Are you
yes.
against them coming here?
I'm against the hypocrisy of this administration.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you against them coming here?
If there was actually a genocide happening, like there is in other places in Sudan, in the Congo, I'm not opposed for Congolese and for the Sudanese to come to Africa, just like I'm not opposed to Venezuelans and South Americans coming to America if they are fleeing and looking for asylum.
Okay.
What I am
but
against,
just these 50 people you're against.
I am against, it's not about being against them. What I am against is that they are being given special treatment when there is not a genocide happening in South Africa, and they just don't like the law of the land.
Well,
so you know what they tell people?
But there's a very high crime rate in South Africa. They have a crime problem. I suspect that part of what's going on here is that there is a very high-profile white South African named Elon Musk, who is very close to President Trump and is probably making this a very high-profile issue and talking to Trump about it. You know, Elon Musk has tweeted about it. He's, I think, called the president of South Africa about it. He's been talking about this for a long time. Look, here's the problem. There's Afghanis who helped us.
We have a refugee program.
I am sure there's been violence against
one
side of the
There has been violence. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I want to make a point. Violence does not equal genocide.
That's
so
right.
we need to be really, really clear about that. Because if you look
at
the violence,
dead guy, you may not say that.
No, I would say that, actually. Because if you look at what genocide is, it is very specific that you're trying to get rid of a people, a whole group of people. There is violence in South Africa. They have had a very big uptick in violence. But black people have seen the brunt of that violence.
Okay.
Not just
Then let me ask this question of the
Africans.
panel. If you get a passport and you're South African, and you have that passport and you're of Dutch descent, and someone else has the same passport, is this a tainted passport? Is it not equal? Are you not a citizen? Do you not have the same rights?
You know what?
Or they're special?
No. You're right. It's the same passport. That means you have to follow the laws. Each person has to follow the laws. And right now, what the Dutch is saying, they don't want to follow the laws of the land. So they're saying their passport, like it was during apartheid, when Africans didn't even have a passport because they had a passport.
I'm hearing them saying, my
dummy
passport's
card.
not the same, and I fear for my life, and I'm leaving the country. That's what I'm hearing.
I also thought Trump said we're going to enforce immigration laws. And this is not enforcing immigration laws. It's breaking a law that clearly says if there's a genocide, you get to come as a refugee.
Well, he's put a refugee ban on practically everybody else. Most of that everybody else that I can think of are either black people or brown people. We are seeing right now Cuban mothers torn away as they are breastfeeding one-year-old U.S. citizen child and sent back to Cuba, where there is a cruel dictatorship. We are seeing Nicaraguans and Venezuelans and Haitians, where the country is held in a handbasket, and Cubans who had parole status to come into this country be told they have to leave.
Let's celebrate one thing together. America is still the country where the persecuted want to come. Period.
Oh, yes,
that's true.
And that's the American
But the problem
dream.
is that the white persecuted are being allowed in,
it's still
and the black and the brown
American
are
dream.
being torn
Well, for the record, we did allow 20 million people to come here illegally, and this is 50 people. So, I mean,
I get it. Yeah. Right? The numbers the math doesn't math, but it doesn't mean the facts of the situation are any different. I also just want to take great issue with the thinking that they are being persecuted, that they are suffering a genocide.
Why would they leave their homes?
Because
if everything is fine, why are they fleeing?
Because guess what? They want to come to America like a lot of people in the world.
Oh, the American dream is working? Oh, no, that's horrible.
But we have a system to prioritize people who really need to come here.
Well, that's a debate we can have, and we are.
No,
that's
not
a
debate.
It's still the magnet.
It is the process that has been set.
Well, the previous administration had priorities about who to let in, including, all kinds of folks who I would argue shouldn't be here. This administration, I guess, is going to set priorities about who and who not to let in.
But let's just be honest about what those priorities are, right? And by the way, I'm a Democrat here. I did not defend the Biden administration on immigration.
But you voted for him.
So that doesn't mean that I defended him on immigration.
You voted for a continuation of it in 2024, did you not?
I did not vote for his policies on immigration.
But you voted
Did
to.
you vote? Do you?
Okay,
but
but
you-
you
there are
voted.
things
You
about
voted.
Donald Trump
You
you
voted
don't
to
like
extend
either,
the immigration policies of the last administration.
No, I did not vote for that.
The point
I did
is,
not vote for that.
you're in a
No.
party that opened the borders, and I'm in a party that closed the borders, and I think the American people prefer it our way.
Well, he's
Close
closed the
them for all
borders
there.
to certain people.
That's
and
right.
I think
That's
that's
different.
the debate.
The people who are coming here
debate-
illegally.
The
of
debate,
course.
though, is he's closed the borders to people who are seeking
And by the way,
refuge
I don't even disagree
and
with
opening
you
it
about
to
the
white
translators.
people.
I think the people who helped the American military deserve a chance to be here. As long as they're vetted and as long as we know who they are, I'm in agreement with you. If you help the United States, if you help the U.S. military, if we help brave soldiers like you were, I'm in agreement with you about that, but I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. I think we can look at these situations.
So then why aren't they letting them in?
To apples,
Would
though?
you agree?
Assuming you think the genocide in South Africa, let's just for a moment assume that that's true. What is apples to apples is that there are 12,000.
So what's the difference between the refugees that they're talking about here and those refugees?
I could guess. I mean, I think everyone.
They're white.
They're white. Thank you. They are white. And I think, look, if that is how you feel, fine, then hold the line. But there are people all over the world, even people in this country right now, who are seeking, who have sought asylum, who are going through the process of asylum seeking, and have been detained by ICE and are being deported. There's also a genocide happening in the Congo right now that I don't see any Congolese being getting relief to come to this country. So there are Afghanis that helped us in Afghanistan that we have left behind. Even the last administration didn't do right by them. This administration can do right by them, but they are not, because it doesn't fit the narrative of the type of immigrants that we want in our country.
And even saying, there is also a genocide happening in Congo. We got to be careful about acknowledging
that there's
not
a genocide.
in South Africa.
That's right. There is no genocide.
No, of course, we're agreeing there. I mean, certainly there are white people in South Africa who have been victims of crimes. That happens all over the world. That certainly does not entitle someone to the level of persecution to be entitled to asylum in the United States. When we, as a nation, are turning away people, forget the woke stuff. I mean, literally people who assisted the United States military in Afghanistan are not being admitted to this country now in favor of white South Africans under some genocide narrative that is just nonsense.
So the Trump administration, they're saying that essentially these white South Africans assimilate better and they're also not as much of a security risk. That's really causing a lot of people to be appalled, frankly. And I also should tell people that this violence that they're talking about that are dealing with these Afrikaners, I've been hearing from people that say there is violence in South Africa, but it's affecting everybody of every single race, Katie.
Correspondent Alex Marquardt is here with us. Alex, what are you learning about the Trump administration's relocation efforts for these Afrikaners?
Well, this is such an extraordinary move because the Trump administration has gone to such lengths to stop migrants and refugees from coming into this country. This move is racially tinged, to say the least. The vast majority of migrants and refugees trying to come to the U.S. are not white, and this group of 49, we understand, is entirely white. As you mentioned, they're known as Afrikaners. They're descendants of the Dutch who colonized South Africa. According to the Associated Press, there are 49 of them. This is the first group, so 49 today, flying over in a charter plane due to land today at Washington's Dulles Airport. This is the latest salvo in a pretty acrimonious back and forth between the governments of the United States and of South Africa. Back in February, President Trump issued an executive order accusing the South African government of racial discrimination, of taking land belonging to white citizens without compensation. This is something that the South African government vigorously denies. They call this resettlement scheme that was announced by the president in February as politically motivated. And they have argued that despite being a minority in South Africa, they are among the most economically privileged group in the country. Back in March, the South African ambassador was kicked out of the U.S. He was declared persona non grata, and he had accused Trump of mobilizing a supremacism, and he went on to say that the administration is trying to project white victimhood as a dog whistle. So this is highly controversial, not just because many South Africans are arguing that this is not a group in need, but there's so many people who work with refugee groups here who argue that there are people who need to come here in a far more desperate way. both.
Alex Marquardt, thanks very much. Very sensitive issue indeed. And we'll be right back with more news.
Yeah, so there you have it. Now, this is what I think. And these people are hilarious to me because you would think that they would be excited and happy that you have white people, the colonizer, leaving an African nation and going back to the white man's country, right? These people are coming back to America. And they're leaving the South Africans alone. So what's the problem there? But these people didn't have no problem with a whole bunch of millions, actually, of illegal immigrants coming into this country. The difference with these two groups of people is the fact that one is illegal, these people are legal. That's the biggest difference, right? These people want to point out that the fact that, oh, Trump is not allowing brown and black people into the country and he's allowing white people to come into this country. That's not the case. If the black and brown people come into this country the right way, the legal way, and seek refuge the legal way, and seek legal asylum, they wouldn't have as much trouble coming into this country as they're doing right now. But see, that's the biggest difference, that the difference that they're not even pointing out. It's very simple. One is legal, the other ones are not. These people from South Africa are not bombarding the southern border and demanding that they come into this country and get all types of social welfare and assistance from the government, right? They actually waited their turn and got permission from the federal government to come into this country. If other groups of people were to do the same thing, they possibly would have gotten the same privilege. Just because you are seeking asylum and you are being persecuted and you're a refugee, you don't have the right to come into this country and demand that somebody take you in. It's a privilege to be allowed to come into this country. And doing it the right way is the first step in earning the right to come into this country and waiting for your turn. So this is hilarious to me. I thought they would be in favor of this. Y'all want immigrants to come into this country, but all of a sudden, since these immigrants are white, they have a problem with it. Hilarious. The irony is stunning. I thought these people love immigrants. I thought they want immigrants to come into this country. But when they're doing it the right way, it's a problem, right? But hey, I agree with what Scott Jennings and everybody else was saying, on the conservative side of the argument here, is that these people will assimilate most likely, right? They'll come into, they're probably hardworking. These are farmers, so they're not going to come into the country and be a strain on the social welfare system, right? They'll probably actually come into this country and contribute. And they were vetted. I'm pretty sure they went through a background check. They know who these people actually are. They have proper identification on these people. Right? This is the things that they're not pointing out. Oh, they're white. Trump's just letting white people into this country and he's saying no to the brown and blacks. No, dude. CNN is hilarious. They don't have no arguments about any subject at hand unless it's racially motivated. They're always just going to think and just resort to some type of racial narrative. And that's how you know these people are low IQ. They can't articulate the differences like I just did here. Hilarious. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this video. Let's talk about this in the comment section. Of course, if you are brand new, consider hitting subscribe to the channel. And of course, leave your opinions down below. I want to know what you guys think. Let's talk about it. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.